Good evening. Welcome to Expression in Painting by Paul Creamy. Tonight I brought these three paintings. They're from a series that I did a few years ago where I fell in love with dirt roads all over the place, Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. And I did these beautiful flowers with the purple wandering through. I like paintings that you enter into, paintings that you become part of. You feel like you're present in the painting. And this happens to be a very beautiful, quiet painting in the sunlight coming through the woods and the path. These kind of paintings, I think that they give you a lot of joy and peace, and that they're very passionate in their expression and feeling. And I call these contemporary impressionisms. Second painting is a painting, I took a photograph in Maine. I've taken a lot of photographs in Maine. Maine's one of my favorite places, and they have these lupin. And came across this little road, and I looked to my right, and my friend was driving, David. And I said, Dave, pull over. I want to take some photographs. And there's somebody's backyard, and they had the water in the background, and the trees, and all the lupin, and moving across the field. I think lupin should be the main flower, but I don't think it is. So it's got a real quiet softness, and it's very impressionistic. You know, we're doing this show for the cancer support community in Norwell. Oh my goodness, I think I left the cards in my coat. But it's February 12th from 1 to 5, 120 Longwater Drive. It's in the area where the old Weirgard used to be, over there in Assinippie Park. And it's going to be 1 to 5, and Not Your Average Joe is providing the food, and French Memories is providing the pastries. And my son-in-law is going to provide some wine. So this is the third painting I brought. And it's kind of like from that series of the water lilies in the pond. There's so many of these beautiful ponds everywhere. In fact, we got one made up on Hummock here on Route 14. I've painted it quite a few times with the water lilies, and it's a beautiful thing. So this is really impressionistic. You know, it's kind of a sketchy painting, but I love the feeling of it. It's not uptight. It's very, very loose, and it flows. Tonight, we're going to finish the painting we started last time. I brought the photograph, thank God, and I got the painting. And we're going to do it. I'll put it on the easel and show it to you. I didn't touch it. All I did was a little sketching on it. I left the painting. It's something I don't usually do, but I've been working on the internet, getting hooked up with Facebook and LinkedIn. And so I've been staying away from the artwork as much as trying to get going on the marketing of the work. I never realized how difficult it is to work on a computer. I'd get in the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning and work until 7 at night. For 3 weeks I did that, and I accumulated quite a few connections and friends. I think that when you learn how to do something, you should have somebody instruct you and teach you, but I sort of moved through all of this by myself. I had a little instructions how to turn the computer on, how to turn the computer off, but I've never really messed with the computer, so this was a really good experience. So tonight we're going to do this painting. Here's the photograph. I did a little sketching on the white part to make it easier for we could paint it. I brought this photograph that I took in 1998, and it's a house on the coast of Maine. I think it's Sprucehead. A great Sprucehead. Sprucehead, Maine is near Rockland or Thomason, that area along the coast. Fantastic place. My friend has a house there, and every year she lets us use it. We use it for a week. It's fantastic. So I'm going to get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sketch the house in by putting the colors on, and then I'm going to take it and do the foreground and do the back. We got this little, like I said, we got this little photograph. So the house is, oh, I need black. Well, let's get that. So all of this painting It's done with acrylics. I like acrylics because they don't require any mixing of anything. You can put all kinds of things in with them if you want to. I think if you want to paint, you should just pick up the paints. I have a fellow that's been coming to my studio and he wants to take up painting. So I gave him a couple of the TV shows and he says he loved the way I painted. There's a lot of people that come up to me constantly and telling me this, that they love the show. You know, you should always either email Pembroke Broadcasting or drop them a line. These people work hard. I think it's Pembroke Broadcasting. I'm not sure. Is that how it is? Pembroke Broadcasting, yeah. So we're going to do this gray house. I never can remember the name. PBC, I think. The Pembroke Broadcasting. And they're great people. There's John and there's Ann. And they work here and they do a fabulous job. We got the camera crew, Bob and Dr. Jones, who's fantastic. She's done a beautiful video of this show that I'm having in Norwell, and they're going to start putting it on so that you can see it and get an idea of some of the paintings. There's a painting called The Anxiety Tree that I really love, and a lot of people have commented it over the years. I've had it for a few years. And I was in California visiting a friend, and we took a ride from the upper part of California, Northern California, and we were going to go all the way down to LA to visit my son, who was living there at the time. He's still living there. And what an experience. And we're driving down the highway, and I saw this beautiful tree in the middle of a field, and I made him pull over. He said, "What are you, crazy? Pull over in the highway in California, you'll get killed." I said, "No, just pull over. I want to take a picture of this tree." And it really was a gorgeous tree. And I thought it was dead, but it had no leaves. And I asked my friend if California had changes of the seasons like Massachusetts. And he wasn't sure. He only lived there, he said. "I only live here. I don't know about any of that stuff." He's a funny guy. We've been friends since high school. So like almost 50 years. He's lived in California for about 30 years. So what I'm doing is I'm just blocking in the color. I don't do a lot of detail on some of these paintings. I just get it going and leave it as it works itself into a particular look, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm never trying to do every stick on every branch and every leaf. I sort of like it when you have to look at it for a while. It's just an image that's partially there, just enough to let you know what it is. And that's what Impressionist painting is. Van Gogh be walking down the street or a path, and he'd see something, he'd set up his easel, and boom, the painting would be done. Renoir, Pissarro, all of those artists, they were magnificent. I know they're appreciated now, but they were laughed at when they were doing it, which is the case with most artists anyways. They say you're famous when you're dead. And I like what Edward Hopper says. Edward Hopper says, if you're famous while you're alive, you're forgotten when you're dead. Oh, maybe that's true. So we're getting this in. I mean, I painted most of this painting last time, and I wasn't trying to finish it, and I'm not trying to finish this. Tonight I'm just going to go in here and do some of the work that brings this pretty close to being finished. A painting like this can be painted in 5 to 6 hours, but I'll take a painting like this and work on it for 5 or 6 months. I put it away, I work on something else, I go back. Like this one with the trees with the flowers, I worked on that for a long time. I just loved it. When I was telling somebody, my friend Joan was in today looking at a painting, and she says to me, some of these paint have a lot of paint on them. I said, well, that's because if they stay in the studio for a long time, I have a tendency to pick them up and work on them again. They're not ever done until somebody pays me and takes them out the door. Then they're done. And if they brought them back, I'd probably work on them again. I never get tired of working on the painting over and over and over and over till I feel like it's finally there. And even when it's finally there, I want to get it out of the studio. I know what I'll do is I'll take it to my son's house, my oldest son. He's got about 60 or 70 of my paintings in his house. And he says to me, "Dad, you don't want to work on this painting anymore, do you?" And I said, "No, I want to get it out of my studio." And he laughs at me. You know, he's a funny kid. Not a kid, he's 47. God, good boy. My oldest son. So, he's really good to me. Yeah. Let me step back. I just want to see what this looks like. I didn't want to work on these houses forever. I want to work on the other stuff. That's good. Just a hint of what they look like. Let's do some of the other things now. I like the other work, the field and the flowers and all of that stuff that's going on. Yeah, really nice. Stick this in here. Okay. All right. So you just add this. I'm trying to build up this area right along in here so that it has some nice movement and some nice color. And you'll see it come, I hope, towards you. And this is how you do a painting like this. You just keep putting the paint on the canvas. Really simple. Somebody once asked me, how long does it take you to learn how to paint like this? And he says, well, if you do 1,000 paintings, maybe you'll be in that vicinity of learning how. And then after that, you have to do another 1,000 because you've gotten good at it. And then you have to do another 1,000 because you know you're good at it. And by that time, somebody will be buying your paintings, if that's what you want. But the art field is not easy in this country. I don't know why. That's why I do this show. I'm trying to educate people and show them what an artist does and how he does it. Because I don't think the school systems are doing a good job of helping these kids see what art is or what art isn't. In fact, they don't want to spend the money, I don't think. And it is all about money. The music. I mean, if it was football or baseball or whatever. I mean, I love sports, don't get me wrong, but I think you got to teach your kids how to be creative so that they can express themselves. It's a way of getting all of that inner tension out of a kid. Make them take notice of what's important, hopefully. That's why I started doing the show. I felt like when I started doing the show when I was 43, so was I 43? I don't know. Maybe a little, around there, 43 or 50. Because I'm 68 now, so I think I've been doing it a lot longer than that. I don't know. You lose track of time. You just keep doing it. Started in Norwell and then wound up in Pembroke when they closed down the whole system because Comcast used to be in charge of. So I'm doing the front a little darker here. I mixed a really dark color so I can get it. When you do the front a little darker, it pushes everything back. You'll start to see it move around. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Push everything back so that it has a great lot of distance. And I'm building up the paint. I'm putting a ton of paint on this canvas. I mean, I almost used the paintbrush like a palette knife. I mean, people ask me all the time if I use a palette knife. And I say, no, I use a brush. But if you watch me use this brush, it can almost be like a palette knife. And I use a lot of gesso. Then what the gesso does, it takes the color and transforms it from in-your-face color to a softer color. It makes it almost look like a fresco. You just keep working it. Should step back and see how it looks. This looks like it's a little dark in here, so I'm going to go back. Try to lighten that up just a tiny bit. Don't be afraid to use a lot of paint. It covers a multitude of sins, and it helps. I mean, I had somebody tell me I went to the VA to see my doctor, and girl was saying, I used to paint, but it got too expensive. I says, well, what do you do that's creative? You know, and she says, well, I'm a amateur photographer. I said, well, that's good. At least you're doing something that's expressive. You have this job, and it can be a lot of tension being a nurse at a major hospital like that one in Brockton. Man, you can't even find a place to park over there. That's how many people they have going in there. Unbelievable. I'm going to step back and take a look. I have my reducing mirror with me too. I see what that does. Yeah, see, when you're painting like this, you very seldom can see what you're doing. These lights are powerful, and it's difficult sometimes to pick up on all of the little nuances inside the painting. So you just got to have faith in yourself that what you're doing is what you want. Sometimes the best part of doing an art show like this is after the show's all done and they shut the lights off and we take a look and say, oh my goodness, it does look good. And you just keep applying the paint, just keep putting it on. And it starts to make sense after a while. You'll start to see it. It builds up, it builds up. So all of this LinkedIn and Facebook, in fact, I have a Facebook fan page, it's called Paul Creamy Fine Arts. If you have a chance and you're on Facebook, take a look and give it a like, because I'm trying to build up the likes. I don't know, that's the way it works. You look at it and you see something you like. But I put that video on that Dr. Jones did on Facebook, and it's getting a lot of response. A lot of people like it. We'll see Dr. Jones and I going back and forth about this cancer. You know, we all know somebody with cancer. It's such a terrible disease. And, you know, I felt like when my niece went through a serious operation and she's got to go through another one. She's 42 years old. She's got a 10-year-old daughter and a 16-year-old son, and she's having a terrible time. I said, that was it. I said, I've got to find a way to do something to help people that are going through this. And then I found out about this cancer support group that doesn't charge, and they help people, and they're in Norwell, and it's a gorgeous place. So went over and said, look, I'll put a show on for you, and they were thrilled. So it's going to be February 12th on a Sunday afternoon from 1 to 5. Lots of food, lots of good sweets, and they also donated a painting. They're going to raffle it off, $10 for one ticket and $25 for three. A $1,900 painting of a garden that's gorgeous. The garden that I painted in Norwell. And then I put it on the internet and on Facebook, and I said, we all know somebody with cancer. Every one of us. Why don't we do something about it? Find a way. And people say, well, I can't do anything. I don't know what I can do. Yeah, you can. You can come over and the funny part is, if you buy a painting, not because I'm making it a lot of money, because a quarter of the amount, or 25% of the painting goes towards the community, that you can write it off on your taxes. And I've already sold quite a few paintings because I put it up in December. And there's a lot of people that attend that place, and they bought quite a few of the paintings. Let me see. I've been painting away here, and I take a look with my reducing mirror. It's my little mirrors. I dropped it. I've got a crack in the middle. Boy, yeah, now you're starting to see the seagrass and the start to move, and you see the flow. That's what I'm looking for. I love it when it has a nice quiet activity along the painting surface of the canvas. I'm going to fool around with the beach a little now. See, I tell people I spend more time in my rocking chair at my studio than I do behind the canvas. If I were in my studio now, I'd be sitting back there in my rocking chair looking at this painting for about 10 or 12 minutes, then get up and work on an area. But when you have a show like this and you're trying to do something, you only have so much time, and it goes by in a blink of an eye. So you see me standing here and charging after this canvas, whereas if I was in my studio, I'd be a little slower at it. So what I'm going to do now is take some white paint and some of this sepia color, and I'm going to do some of the beach stuff. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken burnt sienna and a dark brown, and I'm doing the beach in the marsh. I'm going to use some of that in here too. Oh, just decorated the floor. Sorry about that, John. Patriots game was great, wasn't it? Talk about a nail biter. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now, don't be afraid. You're in charge. What you do when it comes to painting is what you do. You know, if you're afraid to do it, then don't. Find a way to get some courage to just put the paint on the canvas. That's because this is what this is all about. It's not being afraid. It's just putting paint down. You know, and all of a sudden it starts to have a good feeling, and you start to get it. As you get closer to the bottom, these, whatever they are, flowers or weeds or whatever, they get a little darker. So you thought that this painting had almost looked like it was finished, but you see what I'm doing is I'm adding all of this, I call it the frosting on the cake. It just brings the painting to another place. As you get further back, they should get smaller. As you come closer, they should get a little bigger. I know, you're looking at it and saying, you make it look so easy. It is easy. But I've also been doing this for 50, 60 years. And I started painting when I was 7. My father was so against it, he says, "Oh, don't encourage them. Artists don't make any living." Then when I was 14, I had a show at the South Shore National Bank in Quincy, and the Remicks bought a couple of my paintings. And I showed my father a check for $1,400 back in, 58 or 69, or 59. He almost had a heart attack. He didn't think it was real. He went to the bank with me to cash it. Oh my God, that was funny. I bought my first suit myself. Oh, what a horrible suit it was too. God, when I think about it. Oh. And then I put the rest of the money away. Let me step back now. This is starting to have some real depth. So we can do some of the background colors now. Let me step into this, take a look. All we got to do is soften up the colors a little, so we add a little more gesso. Tiny bit of blue, a little red. See, and when you're painting a painting like this, God, it really went by. When you're painting a painting like this, I think you just gotta really forget about the photograph and just do it. Just go after it. You know, you've got the idea of what you want to paint. It's there. I like what Bernard did. Bernard said he'd go to a scene, look at it, and then come back and paint it. He didn't paint when he was on location. I'm not an, what do they call it now? Plein air painter. I'd rather be in my studio. I find it more convenient, more comfortable. You're outside, it changes constantly. And then people come by and they start talking to you. And I just can't be rude to people or anyone. And my friend, I used to go out with a friend of mine and he'd go crazy. I stopped going out with him because he embarrassed me so much. God. I said, I'm not like that. I can't treat people like that. He said, well, you'll never get anything done, Paul. You can't talk to them. You just got to keep working. And I said, well, I think that's why I like working in the studio. But even then, people come to the studio and we talk. I have a lot of my friends that come over and we sit and talk. I tell you, you spend so much time in the studio when you're an artist by yourself that it's nice to have somebody come by once in a while. The lady today spent like 2 hours to find a painting she liked. And she liked a bunch of them. So she had a difficult time. I love it when they have a difficult time. Especially when it comes to buying a painting. That's a good thing. He had excellent taste, so that makes a difference too. And you love to sell paintings to people who have excellent taste. If that sounds a little conceited, I apologize, but it wasn't meant to. I told her, and I tell people who, the best compliment you can pay an artist is to buy a painting. You can say how great he is, how much you love it, but when you take the money out and put it in the artist's hands, oh God, that's it. That's it. That's the best. So you see, this is what I'm doing, and just putting down a quality of paint, then different layers, so that the trees look real. I've mixed red with dark green, and it gives me this real spruce-like look. Italy, they have the most gorgeous trees. Oh, take your breath away. The spruce trees in Italy. I always thought that they were over-exaggerated until I went there, and they're not. They're just like you see in the paintings. Those Italians, they have it made. They have a gorgeous country, gorgeous air. And everything about Italy is fantastic. Since I've been doing this LinkedIn, I've connected with, because I got this nice Sicilian last name, Creamy. I've hooked up with a ton of Italians. And one lady, an Italian agent, said to me, your paintings have so much emotion and so much feeling. She said, I can't understand why Italian artists haven't painted like this. I says, well, they're painting contemporary things now. They're not into that. Sometimes when you live in a place, you don't really recognize the beauty of it. You have to go somewhere else to see it. Although I think this country, Maine and Massachusetts and Connecticut and Rhode Island, magnificent scenery. The coast is fabulous. Never get bored looking at what you see. I belong to, like I said, LinkedIn, and I joined about 50 groups. And I put up a question, where does your art come from? Your soul or your passion? Wow, what a storm fire I set off with that question. I think you can get some great answers and get some people upset too. One lady said, And I've been writing God bless on all the communications. One lady wrote back and said she didn't believe in God. And I wrote back, well, God believes in you. I don't think she appreciated it. This is what I do. I stand there for hours and hours and hours, sometimes day after day, just dabbing away until it gets to the point where I look at it and I say, I think it's done. And when I really think it's done, I put it somewhere else. Because I know if I put it somewhere else, I can't paint on it. So you say, that's how you get this painting to have so much volume or the quality of the paint sticking out. And like I said, I have that mentality. I want people to enter into the painting, to feel it. That's why I like those road paintings so much. They have that. You become very involved in the whole process. The longer you do it, the better the paintings come out, the more involved you get. I was looking at some of the things that I have because I'm going through my cabinet and files. In 1990, I did a show at the Milton Museum. I met somebody somewhere. I don't know how I met him. The curator, or somebody told him something about me, and he came and he interviewed me, and he said to me, "I love your work. I love your spiritual work." And I said, "Well, it's funny. I just got this painting accepted into a big show in Dallas at the Biblical Dallas Biblical Center." And he loved the painting, and he says, "Well, how would you like to have a show at a museum in Milton?" And I said, "I didn't even know Milton had a museum." I was blown away when I saw the Picassos and the Matisses and all of the paintings they had. I think the Milton Museum has moved around since, but you say 1990 seems like yesterday, but it's like 21 years ago, 22 years ago. And I was looking at this article, and I'm saying, seems like yesterday. Funny how our lives seem to be flying by. When you're young, you can't wait to get to be 16 so you get your license. And then when you're 16, you can't wait to be 21 to be able to have a drink. And then when you have to drink, then all of a sudden you're 30. I mean, life goes by in a blip, and it's, oh my God, what happened? So you got to celebrate each and every day, be grateful. Getting in that attitude of gratitude, that's a really good thing. Then you get to our age and you start to say, hey, every day is a blessing. You're still here. I look around and I say, oh my goodness gracious, all these people with cancer, and it breaks your heart. So let's figure out a way to help. And that show is open now. You don't have to wait till February 12th to go to the open house. If you go to the open house, you'll get some nice food. But I put it up in December 27th, in fact. And I've had a lot of people go to it already. And they come back and said how much they loved it. So if you're over by there, and it's, like I said, it's 120 Longwater Drive, stop in and take a look. They love having people walk through. I'll tell you a funny story. This is a true story. I'm at the VA today getting blood drawn from. I have a thyroid problem, and they're drawing blood, and I'm sitting across from this woman, and I'm saying to myself, "Geez, she looks familiar." But you know, I was a hairdresser for 43 years, so a lot of women look familiar, and it's just a riot. And then this lady beside me on the other side says, "Are you Paul Creamy?" And I says, "Yeah." She says, "You cut my hair when I was in high school." I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah." She says, "You made everybody in high school look like Farrah Fawcett." I said, "Oh my God." And I thought that, and then the lady across from me says, "Well, Paul, you don't recognize me, but I graduated with you." Imagine being in a place, I mean, two total strangers, and they both had some history. One girl graduated with me 1963 from high school, and the girl got her hair cut in 1972 or 73 when I had a shop at Queen Anne's Plaza. It just blows my mind. You know, one of those things, you got to be awful careful of what you say and where you say it, because you never know who's sitting there or who's part of it. I mean, talk about deja vu. Unbelievable. Let me step back, see what this is looking like. All I see is paint. I don't see the picture. Oh my goodness, it's starting to get there, isn't it? Boy. I probably got a little too much white. I got carried away with the white, but that's all right. When it dries, what I'll do is I'll put some of the grass in front of it. But you are drawn forward and back. I haven't finished the houses. The houses are just rough sketch. There's a detail. That kind of stuff takes a little time. Like I said, this painting is going to have a lot of look to it, a really nice look. And in the background, you got to be careful you don't build it up as much as you built the foreground, because it'll pull it towards you. You don't want that to happen. You want it to stay back there. And like I said, in Maine, that's everywhere you look, you see these beautiful dark trees. In all the years I've been going to Maine, I've never been up Maine in the winter. A friend of mine has a place way up in the mountain area, and he wants me to come. Yeah, does skidooing and stuff, but oh no. I have pernicious anemia and a thyroid problem, and I get cold in the summertime. I can't imagine being up there in the winter. Good night. I also have donated a ton of my prints to the VA hospitals. Jamaica Plain, Brockton, and West Roxbury. And they've been very good to me throughout the years, and I wanted to make sure that they got a whole bunch of these beautiful prints. It's funny. I'm waiting in line to get to my appointment, and the people are talking about the paintings on the wall, and I'm cracking up. I'm standing right there, and they have no idea that I'm the guy that painted them. I loved it. Made my day, especially those two women. That was even funnier. Can't wait to tell my wife about it. I used to call hairdressing the living arts. You know, the people that you did. So, This is how you do a painting like this. You just keep looking, tacking, see certain spots, put the paint on. You get an idea when you look at a Van Gogh how it's done, or any one of those impressionistic paintings. The amount of paint and time and energy and the way they see. Good. Painting should be fun. You should have a good time. Shouldn't get frustrated. Get away from it if it's frustrating you. Go for a walk. Read a book. You're taking yourself much too serious. Painting should be fun. Should be relaxing. In fact, my doctor asked me why I was so stressed, and I told her I hadn't been painting for a couple of months. I'd been doing stuff on the internet. And she said, get back to your meditation and get back to doing what you do. Just cut the time on the computer in half. Spend 4 hours on the computer and 4 hours painting. Okay. I've been going to this doctor for 15 years. She's a great doctor. I like her a lot. Very conscientious. You can tell I've been there. If you went into her office, there's a whole bunch of creamies all over the wall. And everybody comments about the birch trees. Oh, in this show I'm having, I have about, 15 to 20 beautiful birch tree paintings. One whole room. They say that the patients or the people that go there just love the room. Find it very soothing and quiet. And if you want to look at some of this stuff, like I said, if you go to Facebook and you go to Paul Cremy Fine Arts, you'll see a little YouTube thing. Punch it and it gives you a 20-minute display of this whole show. And then there's paulcremyfinearts.com. That's my website. Go there. And also you can go to LinkedIn, my profile, Paul Cremy. And they have my websites posted on that site. And you can look at them. Because I do this little TV show, people say, well, he's not a real artist, Well, if you looked at some of the work, you could always go to French Memories in Cohasset and have some pastry and look at some of my paintings there. Or Nino's in Hingham, which is a great restaurant up on 53 in Hingham. So that there's quite a few places that display my work. So if you want to paint, you just go to Michael's or AC Moore, get on the computer, get a coupon, buy a set of paints, buy a little half pint of gesso and a canvas, and go to work. And don't try to think you're going to get a masterpiece the first time you paint. You get better the more you do. And I tell people, if they're going to start painting, get the canvas board. Don't get real expensive canvas, and then you can work your way through it until you get to the point where you want the canvas to be more expensive. And you want it to have that look. Or get canvas and just paint away, and if you don't like it, paint over it. I mean, when I first started, I must have had, I can't imagine how many paintings on some of those first canvases. Although I have a few of the canvases that I did when I was 15 and 16, and my first show, I kept some of those paintings. I wouldn't sell them. I sold one that my wife liked that I did in high school, a pencil sketch. I worked on it for the whole year, and I was sitting at this bar with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, and he says to me, "Are you still painting?" And I said, "Yeah, I still love to draw too." And I says, I've got a bunch of beautiful drawings. And this guy says to me, "Well, bring one in, I'd like to take a look." And I took this one that my wife loved, and this is back in 1967, 68, and he bought it for $1,700. $1,700 was more than you pay for a car. And my wife and I have tried to get that painting, that drawing back from this guy. He will never sell it. I offered him a real expensive painting and a swap, and he wouldn't do it. He said, "No, I've loved that sketch since the day I got it, and I'm never going to get rid of it." And everybody would say, "Well, what did he do for a living?" He was an auto body mechanic. He just had real good taste. I think, anyway. Sounds conceited, but I worked on that drawing. It was a still life of bottles. I worked on that drawing for the whole year when I was in high school. It was part of my portfolio that got me into the museum school. It was really a nice piece. Oh, I'm getting cooked tonight. These lights are cooking me. Good night. Thank you. Man. You just keep dabbing away, touching it here and there, and all of a sudden, I want to get some yellow, get a few colors. All of those white flowers, I need some life in the painting. So you put a little dab of yellow here and there, and it changes the feeling of the painting. Must be getting close. Okay. Get a smaller brush. Good. I just put the little red in there to show you what the door will look like, but I got to push it back some. But I just did it as a change the flow of the painting back here a little. So I'm going to use this yellow, but I'm going to use it sparingly. And so when you're doing this, and you're trying to get people to move around, good, we're getting there. I feel like I'm in a sauna. I never get this caught. when you're doing this with the color like this, you're trying to direct the people. You're making them flow around the canvas. It's a kind of a, it's almost like you're directing people to the house. So that's why I'm changing the light and I'm putting the different colors in. And so you come in here and you add a dab of this and touch it here and there. And it brings you across the canvas. And when you make a big blob right in the front, it's quite obvious. So tonight we brought this painting in. And see, the yellow has changed the feeling of the painting already. I really like what it's done. We brought this painting in, and we started it last week. And now they're going to show these two, the first painting, the first week they're going to show the beginning of this painting. And then after that, they're going to show this section of the painting. And it shows how a painting is built up and how it takes shape. I'm almost going to get done here. I'm just going to add a few more dibbity dabs and call it the night. Stop and talk. We're getting down to the end of this show. This painting is still far from being done. I mean, probably, I say about maybe 8 or 9 hours, and then it'll be done. So, tonight, I brought this little photograph from Maine, in Sprucehead, Maine. I've been painting this painting for 2 sessions and starting to have that look, starting to have that feeling. So that's what painting expression is all about. Being involved in the painting, looking at a painting and see how it's done and see the passion and the soul and all of the emotion. And then you get involved in a painting like that. It makes you want to feel like you want to paint. God bless and good night.